The action begins in a small town where life is mostly in the homes of its inhabitants rather than on the streets. In the center of attention is a small family of single mother Loretta and her 2 children, teenage son Joe and 9-year-old daughter Patty. They live in a boarding house that has become not only a home for them, but also a source of income. The boarding house is not new, it is dilapidated. The creaking floors and peeling paint on the walls speak of a time that has not been kind to the place. But it's the only thing Loretta and her children have. She raises them alone, working almost around the clock to pay the bills and give the kids everything they need. However, the family's life is far from ideal. They are constantly on the verge of financial collapse, but most importantly, they do not lose mutual love and support. Joe, as a teenager, was forced to grow up early. He helps his mother run the boarding house, doing men's work, while Patty, still young and full of childhood dreams, tries not to get in the way and contribute wherever she can. Loretta, despite her tired and weary appearance, tries to keep a smile in her children's eyes. Her love of music, and especially the songs of Elvis Presley, is the only source of joy that allows her to forget her difficulties, if only for a moment. She adores Elvis. His songs remind her of her youth and a time when life seems simpler. One morning, when Loretta returns from a procurement, her car is involved in an accident. Worry grips Joe and Patty when they learn that their mother has been taken to the hospital. Doctors report that her condition is stable, but she needs time to recover. Loretta finds herself confined to a hospital bed, which adds additional stress to Joe. He now takes full charge of his sister and the boarding house. However, an idea begins to mature in his mind. He remembers his mother telling him that she always wanted to see Elvis Presley live. Joe decides that the best birthday present for Loretta is to meet her idol. His plan seems bold and even reckless. He shares the idea with his music group, which is made up of teenagers just like him. Despite the skepticism of some of them, Joe convinces his friends that they owe it to them to give it a try. They have an old pink Cadillac that has been sitting idle for a long time. They fix the car on their own, although this activity causes a lot of comical situations. During the repair, they argue about how crazy this idea looks, but Joe remains unwavering. He is adamant that he has to do this for his mother. The next day, they hit the road. The journey to Cleveland, Ohio, where they are headed to find Elvis, becomes a real ordeal. The Cadillac breaks down in the middle of the road and the teens are forced to find a way to fix it. Joe arranges with a local mechanic that they will play a concert in his garage in exchange for repairs. This impromptu scene becomes one of the funniest moments of their trip. The mechanic, who was initially distrustful of them, turns out to be a big music fan, and their performance makes him genuinely sympathetic. Having fixed the car, they continue on their way. The road is full of unexpected encounters and adventures. They stop at roadside cafes, spend the night in the car, and discuss how exactly they are going to infiltrate Elvis. These conversations reveal the character of each of them. Joe displays leadership qualities, his friend Frankie is sarcastic and witty, and Ricky, the youngest member of the group, often doubts the success of their scheme. These moments create a dynamic that makes their team the real heroes of the story. When they finally reach Cleveland, they face a new problem. Elvis Presley is staying at a luxury hotel guarded by professionals. Joe realizes that sneaking in to see him won't be easy. They start watching the hotel, trying to find a way to get closer to their mother's idol. One evening they meet Enrico, the owner of a local pizzeria, who, to their surprise, looks like a copy of Elvis's mother. Joe quickly comes up with a plan, ask Enrico to play the role of Elvis's mother's ghost to distract his attention. The scene where Joe explains his plan to Enrico is filled with humor and absurdity. Enrico at first flatly refuses, considering it a stupid idea, but after hearing the story of Joe's mother, he sympathizes and agrees to help. He changes into a costume and practices his speech to be as convincing as possible. That night, the teens use Enrico's distraction to sneak inside the hotel. They sneak down the corridors, careful not to be seen by security. Their target is Elvis's room. When they finally find themselves in front of the door, Joe begins to question his plan. He realizes that kidnapping is not the best way to fulfill his mother's dream. Instead, he decides to knock on the door and explain everything to Elvis. Elvis, who at first reacts with suspicion, quickly softens after hearing Joe's story. The teenager's touching monologue, in which he talks about how his mother draws strength from Elvis's songs, elicits genuine sympathy from the singer. Elvis agrees to help and even offers to surprise Loretta. The next day Elvis goes to the hospital with Joe and his friends. Loretta, who all this time was sure that her children were just visiting her, sees her idol in front of her. This moment becomes the climax of the story. Elvis performs one of his songs right by the hospital bedside and Loretta can't hold back her tears. She thanks the children, realizing what an incredible gift they have given her. The movie ends with Loretta being discharged from the hospital and the family returning home. Joe, Patty and their friends feel that they have done something special. They realize that for the happiness of their loved ones, it is worth overcoming any hardship. Elvis leaves behind not only warm memories, but also the belief that even the craziest dreams can become a reality if you make the effort and believe in success.